Hey everyone, this is Shiro, and welcome to the first Genshin Impact lore video on this channel. This marks the official return from a YouTube hiatus, so I hope you'll enjoy it. What lies beyond Teyvat? That is the question that I set out with after it had already stuck around in the back of my head for many months. I consulted a veritable ocean of literature, browsed through all of the Irminsul records that my local radish daughter so graciously gave me access to, and attempted to decipher the mysteries of the very stars with the help of an old friend. After all of this, while I have stumbled across enough information to piece together the semblance of an answer, presenting my findings to all of you will take a while. So make yourselves comfortable, prepare some water or any other drink that you might fancy, and get ready to dive into a carefully compiled analysis of usually overlooked parts of Genshin Impact's lore. Bare bones, amateurish linguistics, trace amounts of science, as well as a whole lot more. To begin to figure out what might lie beyond Teyvat's boundaries, we first have to understand what Teyvat actually is. Now, to many of you this will appear to be a very elementary question that you've already found your answer to, and honestly, it is really not that complicated. However, I still feel the need to go into a bit of detail, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. The two terms used to describe Teyvat are continent and world, and those two words' meanings are what I would like to explore with you. Let's go in alphabetical order. What is a continent? I'm sure many of you are already aware of what I'm about to give you a very basic explanation of, but a huge number of people have never actually thought about this topic, taking it at face value like so much other trivia that they encounter during their lives, never sparing it a second glance. They aren't aware of the implications that the mere usage of the word continent to describe Teyvat has for the world in which Genshin Impact takes place. The most basic definition of a continent is a large landmass, but there's so much more to it than that. To simplify things too much is very often not a good thing, especially when you're trying to understand something. The continents that we're familiar with when it comes to our own planet, Earth, are what we call geological continents. Usually, a landmass has to meet 4 criteria to be classified as one of those. 1. Elevation. It has to be elevated above the surrounding oceanic crust. Whether or not it consists of dry land or is mostly submerged underwater isn't important. 2. Geology. It has to contain various different kinds of rocks, but we really don't need to go into the details of that. 3. Crustal structure. It should consist of what is called the continental crust. 4. Limits and area. The landmass should have an area of more than 1 million square kilometers and have clearly defined boundaries. The most important takeaway out of all of these are those crusts that I mentioned, the oceanic and continental crusts. Their mere existence means that tectonic plates are involved. In other words, we are most definitely on a planet. But is Teyvat the only continent on this planet? We can't say for sure. Theoretically, it's possible for there to only be a single continent on a planet. Even our own Earth had multiple time periods during which, due to continental drift, most landmasses assembled together to form a single large landmass, one we call a supercontinent. However, this term isn't used in Teyvat's case, which means that there's a high chance that there are other continents out there. Of course, it's possible that Hoyoverse simply wanted to avoid spoiling that Teyvat is indeed the only continent on this planet, so they avoided the term supercontinent on purpose. We just can't say for certain. For now, it's enough that we at least acknowledge that it is likely that there are other continents out there. As a side note, we do know that there are other landmasses located beyond the boundaries of the continent of Teyvat, but we don't know whether there are actually continents amongst them. In sharp contrast to the word continent, the word world is a lot harder to pin down and properly define, simply because it can be used to describe far too many things and concepts. Your loved ones, they are your world. The area which you live in and all significant events in your life have taken place in, that's your world. The afterlife? We also call it the next world. a different country or even continent, that could be described as another world. The planet that we live on, Earth, that's our world. Other planets, those are other worlds. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, that's our world. Other galaxies, those are other worlds. Our universe, yeah, that's our world. Other universes, those are other worlds. Our reality, or even existence as a whole, that's our world. And there is so much more than just this surface look at it. I'm sorry for dragging this part out for so long, but there are two patterns in particular in what I just mentioned that I want to draw your attention towards. Usually, a person's understanding of what the world is limited by their own understanding of what everything is. Once more has been discovered and more difficult concepts have been understood, what a person defines as a world changes. On the other hand, people like to call the area that they inhabit and somewhat identify with their world, while everything beyond that, which is reasonably similar, is called another world. Now, what does this mean in the context of Teyvat? It is not weird that the inhabitants would call their continent a world, because to them, it is everything that they have ever known of. Sure, there is the Dark Sea, a term which describes any area outside of the dominion of the Seven Archons. However, according to what we know, it's a wasteland only inhabited by the grotesque, ghostly remains of fallen gods. In other words, to the people, it might as well be uninhabitable. Because they can't live there, and presumably because they also can't pass through it, that's as far as their world extends. I guess it's finally time to address the sumpter beast in the room, as a certain emotionally scarred puppet boy once said, "The stars, the sky, it's all a gigantic hoax, a lie." Or as the puppet boy's abuser put it, let me ask you, have you, in all your mighty knowledge, ever heard the rumor that the skies of Teyvat are fake? I won't go deeply into theories about what exactly this means and how it was achieved, or who is behind it. That's not really relevant for this video, but it is of utmost importance for most other parts of the lore. In any case, what we can reasonably speculate about is that a big reason as to why nothing beyond Teyvat and the surrounding Dark Sea is known to exist to Teyvat's inhabitants is that whatever imprisons/protects them underneath a fake sky has cut them off from the outside world. For what purpose this might have been done, I shan't speculate here. However, the rest of the planet that Teyvat is located on should be situated beyond the fake sky. It is possible that other continents have also been restrained underneath the fake sky and are merely an unknown part of the dangerous Dark Sea now, but we just don't know. It is a reasonable assumption, however, to say that the planet is most definitely not entirely contained within the fake sky barrier, because the oddly spherical nature of their world would surely have been noticed over the course of thousands of years and become common knowledge by now. To be fair, it's always possible that everyone just overlooked it until present day, or that only a very select few are aware of it, but these possibilities are, in my personal estimation, relatively unlikely, although not totally improbable. We already know that Teyvat is merely a continent on a planet somewhere, so where is that planet located? We don't have any exact data on this, but all of Genshin Impact has been confirmed by Hoyoverse to be a part of the Honkai Universe. This universe is very different from our own. For one thing, there exist two main entities, or concepts of universal scale, known as the Imaginary Tree and the Sea of Quanta. The tree wants to nourish itself and grow by absorbing the Sea of Quanta, while the sea wants to engulf the imaginary tree. Both of these forces hold the universe in somewhat of a balance. The leaves on the imaginary tree equate to what are called worlds. There are countless of them, and many of them occasionally fall off the tree and slowly but surely get dissolved in the Sea of Quanta. Before this happens, they are known as bubble worlds, erroneously translated from Chinese as bubble universes. But what about the leaves that don't fall? Well, they contain the worlds that some of Hoyoverse's games take place in. namely Honkai 2, also known as Guns Girl Z or Z depending on whether you're American or British, Honkai Impact 3rd, Genshin Impact, and Honkai Star Rail. This latest game's lore sheds some more light on what the leaves on the tree actually are. According to a character called Sandar, the leaves very likely equate to individual star systems, also known as galaxies. In other words, each leaf contains far more than just a single planet. Actually, it's likely that there are at least 100 billion planets per leaf. With all of this in mind, we can now put Teyvat into proper perspective. It's a singular continent on one planet. This planet, just one of more than 100 billion, is a part of a galaxy. And all of that is just a singular leaf on the imaginary tree of the Honkai Universe. As for our travelers, they are stated to have passed through countless worlds during their journey. We can't exactly be sure what the term worlds refers to in this context, because Genshin Impact often uses the word so liberally that it could literally mean a lot of things. From different planets, to different solar systems, to different galaxies, or rather, leaves on the imaginary tree. However, for now, it would be most reasonable to assume that we're only talking about the one particular leaf on the imaginary tree that Genshin Impact takes place in. We have no information that indicates anything other than that. For now. With everything properly laid out, we can build upon this framework using all of the other information at hand to speculate about many things. What is the Abyss? Who are the Descenders and where are they from? Who is the Primordial One? What exactly happened that cut off Teyvat from the rest of its planet, as well as the galaxy as a whole? However, I'll leave theorizing about these things either for another time or to others. Instead, I simply want to give you a realistic expectation for the future of Genshin Impact. All of Teyvat, including even Celestia. In the great scheme of things, it's merely the beginning. The first proper arc of this game's story. Heck, the Travail trailer even calls it the Teyvat chapter. Anyone who has read a book before would be able to tell you that there are usually many chapters within. Also, a book doesn't need to stand on its own. It can be a part of a series. In other words, this is going to be a very, very long ride with countless exciting, heart-gripping storylines and characters. What we've seen so far is not even the tip of the iceberg, far from it. To put it yet another way, we're unborn tadpoles that haven't even left the frog within the well yet. I hope all of this has helped to put Teyvat and Genshin Impact as a whole into perspective. Thanks for sticking around until now, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then I'd be grateful if you could leave behind a like and subscribe to this channel for more Genshin lore related content in the future. There are multiple topics that I'd like to talk about already written down in my notes. Over these past years, I've mostly focused on writing my own stories, and that won't change in the days to come either. However, Genshin lore has fascinated me ever since the game's release, so I will be splitting my time between these two passions of mine. If you'd like to support me monetarily because you either appreciate my work or want to help me do more of what I love, I'd be truly thankful if you checked out my Patreon. With all of that said, let me bid you farewell. I'll delve back into writing my stories and studying Genshin lore now. Let's hope this abyss of knowledge will allow me to resurface soon. Anyway, see you next time.